Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy, Boulanger. Up next, Baltimore Ravens statistical predictions. Let's talk. So, it's almost week one, and now it's time for the predictions to start rolling out. Okay? And you guys know we have some candidates who could earn some big time awards. Okay? And in my previous video, you know I've already excluded Lamar Jackson from NFL MVP. Could he get Pro Bowl? Sure. Could he get an All-Pro? Sure. But I've already excluded him from that award. And so let's just move to his statistics. I think that Lamar Jackson in the 2025 season is going to throw for over or pass for over 4,000 yards. I think he's going to have about 36 to 40 touchdowns once again. I think his interception numbers will tick up. I think he'll be somewhere around 8 to 10 interceptions. I think that his rushing numbers will drop by 250 yards. I think he'll tap in somewhere around 650 to 700 unless something drastically goes wrong in the running back room. And so in totality, his numbers will be 4,000 passing. Let's average it out, 38 touchdowns. Let's go 9 interceptions. And I think he has about 650 to 700 rushing yards. And let's say 5 rushing touchdowns. I think he's going to have somewhere around his average of last year of 68% completion percentage. I think that's Lamar Jackson's numbers for the 2025 season. Let's go to the running back room. Derrick Henry does not replicate his season from last year. He just can't. There is no way a 32-year-old running back goes for almost 2,000 yards again, unless he just reels off 3 or 4 200-yard games in the early parts of the year, and then that number just begins to climb pretty rapidly. But I think Derrick Henry comes in somewhere around 1,400 yards. I think he's probably going to have 10 to 14 touchdowns. So let's tap in at 12 touchdowns. I think he'll add another 20 catches with another 200 receiving yards. Now that's a huge step down from where he was last season, but I don't think we need Derrick Henry to have 1,900 yards to be successful. If he gets 1,900 yards, wonderful. But I think we're going to see a little more of Justice Hill, which is fine. And I think we're going to see Keaton Mitchell get the ball 4 to 5 carries or 4 to 5 touches per game because of his explosiveness. Because you do want to take some of that load off of Derrick Henry, because although he's a workout warrior, he's still over 30. And running backs kind of lose a little bit, although Derrick Henry hasn't, when they get over 30. So I think Derrick Henry, 1,400 yards, 12 touchdowns, 20 receptions, 200 yards receiving. And if he taps in right there or exceeds that, he's had a great season, another Pro Bowl season. And the reason why I say he comes down to about 1,400 yards is because Lamar Jackson is going to hit that 4,000 passing yard once again, because I think you're going to see him go deep a lot this year. Bateman, Devontae, and maybe even a little bit of LaJohntay Wester sprinkled in there. DeAndre Hopkins is not a deep ball guy. He can get deep, but he's not a deep ball guy anymore. He's going to be working more in the intermediate. So the deep ball guys will be Walker and Wester and maybe Bate. And so that's why I think Derrick Henry's numbers come down in 2025. Still a good season, but that's what I'm predicting. When we jump out to, let's go tight end. And I'm going to talk about 2 different tight ends. Let's go Mark Andrews. I think Mark Andrews, oh my gosh, he's already dealing with some dings in the offseason. I think that he plays only in about 14 games this season. I think he ends up with something like 55 catches for, let's go, 650 yards. I say he's going to have about 7 to 10 touchdowns. So let's average it out about 8. because he's going to get the head start this season because of the injury to Isaiah Likely. So let's talk about Likely. I think Likely is going to have about, let's go 36 catches because of the games missed. 36 catches, somewhere around 420, 440 yards. And I say Likely only gets 5 touchdowns this season. I think he has a huge step back because I'm not sure if he's going to be 100% at all this season. So those are the numbers for the tight end room. Still good seasons, but they would combine for, if you really pull those numbers, that's like 90 catches and 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. So that's not too bad for your tight end room, and that's not to mention what Charlie Kolar could do. Let's go to wide receivers. I've already said that I believe that Rashad Bateman elevates his play this year and gets into that number 1 spot. Not that he's trying to get it, but I think because he's been able to train versus rehab, he and Lamar began to develop some chemistry last season. He came in with about 750 yards last year. I think he goes for 1,000 yards this year. Now, he only plays in about 15 games, but I think he gets over 1,000 yards in those 15 games with about 7 touchdowns. I think he's going to be a deep threat, but also an elite level route runner. You're going to see his hands. You're going to see his route running, and I think you're going to see Rashad Bateman come into his own. I think he does lead the Baltimore Ravens in receiving yards, not receptions, but receiving yards next season. Again, this is with health. I think he probably has 1,200 yards. So Rashad Bateman, 1,200 yards, about 7 touchdowns. Let's go 60 catches. Okay, because I think there's going to be some games where we're going to be in some shootouts. Okay, when we go to who I believe is going to move into the number 2 spot, again, they're not in competition for the number 1 spot. I just think Zay has a step back from a Pro Bowl season, and I think he comes in somewhere around 850. I do not think he played in all the games. I think he only gets in about 14, 15 games as well. I think because of his ability to shake loose, I think he has about 75 catches, about 850, 900 yards. We're only going to go about 6 touchdowns. That's a step back from last season. Because he's ended the season injured, and he's had some injuries in this off season. So I do not expect him to play all the games, which is what's going to pull his numbers down. Let's go DeAndre Hopkins. I think that DeAndre Hopkins being the number 3 wide receiver, I think he's going to come in. Let's go. If he had 3 catches per game, that would be 51 catches. So let's go with 45. I think he has 45 catches. Let's go 450 yards, and let's go 5 touchdowns, because he is, could be a red zone threat. Again, I don't think he plays, but I'm going to go 13 to 14 games, but that's what I believe his numbers will be. And let's go to Devontae Walker, who is my breakout candidate at the wide receiver position. I think he's going to end up with about 35, 40 catches. But I think it's going to be for over 500 yards because of his deep threat ability. I think he ends up with, he had 1 touchdown last season. I think he ends up with 4 touchdowns this season, which is a huge jump from what he did. 1 catch, 1 touchdown, 21 yards, something like that, to 500 yards. Again, I do believe he will be going deep. And I believe because some of the other guys will be missing in action, I think he'll get a lot of reps. Okay, so that's my numbers for the offense. I didn't get every player, but those are my numbers for who I believe will be the impact players this season. Now let's jump to the defense side of the ball. Let's just talk sacks. I do not think Justin Madubuike gets back to, or Nnamdi Madubuike gets back to double-digit sacks. I think he taps in at about 8 sacks this season. I think that he'll be the only one in the trenches that really are dominating pass rush. I think Travis Jones will be focused on stopping the run. I think that Broderick Washington will be focused on stopping the run. And so I think Nnamdi Madubuike will be the leader in sacks. I think he gets 8 this season. When we jump back to the edge position, I'm going to say that, let me go way out there. I think Mike Green leads this team in sacks. And in fact, I think he gets into double-digit sacks. I don't think he's going to be a starter, but I think his impact is going to be so great. You're going to see his violence, his explosiveness, his bend, his speed, his effort. I think he comes in with double-digit sacks. I'm going to give him 10. I say he ties Odafe with 10. I think Calvin Noy, because of his age, I think that he will give up some of his snaps to Mike Green, to Tavius Robinson, and I think the Baltimore Ravens will be trying to see what David Ajabo is going to do. So I think that Calvin Noy will get a lot of run. He will be the starter, but I think his numbers will come down, which makes way for Mike Green to get those sacks. So that's my prediction. So let's go to interceptions. I think when we look at all of the secondary, Marlon Humphrey, who led the team last year in interceptions, Nate Wiggins, Malachi Starks, Kyle Hamilton, Jair Alexander. I think that Malachi Starks leads this team in interceptions, and I think he ends up with 6, which almost gets him into Pro Bowl consideration. I think that's who leads this team with interceptions. And then tackles, I think that's going to be Roquan. I think Roquan will have well over 120 tackles again this season. So those are my predictions numbers-wise for the Baltimore Ravens. If those guys hit those markers, those guys are knocking on Pro Bowl level consideration, with the exception for our wide receivers. I don't think our wide receivers get into the Pro Bowl this season. And part of that reason is because you had DK Metcalf added to our division. Then you got Jamar Chase. You got, what's the guy's name? Garrett Wilson, who has the potential to do some things. Tyreek Hill, who has some potential to do some things. I think Nico Collins has some potential. So there's a lot of wide receivers who are going to get number 1 level targets. So I don't think our wide receivers have an opportunity to earn Pro Bowls and things like that. But that don't matter as long as we win. And so I think the other guys with those numbers are in Pro Bowl consideration. Okay. I think Tyler Loop, I think he ends up with about 88% completion on field goals made, or however you want to say that number. But I think he's around 88%. I think he'll be very, very good from 52 and in. Can he make longer ones? Yes. Have we seen him make longer ones in live game? Yes. But I think 52 and in, he's almost automatic, right? So I think he's going to be around 88%. I think that's all of the major numbers except for this one, wins versus losses. I think the Baltimore Ravens are 12-5 once again. I think they fight with the Bengals for the division, but I think they edge out the Bengals and win the AFC North with a 12-5 record for the 3rd year straight. So that's what I believe. I believe that the Bengals and the Steelers fight for the number 2 spot in the AFC. I think the Steelers fall off offensively as Aaron Rodgers starts to fall off offensively. I think Joe Burrow, like I've already stated in another video, is the MVP. And I think he powers the Bengals into the playoffs this season, leaving Pittsburgh on the outside looking in. But we'll have to see. Injuries can always play a big factor, but that's my thoughts. You guys let me know what you think. And until next time, I'm out.